always need to be a step ahead.
Like an EFF.
Like in EFF, I mean, look at how EFF grew so quick. I mean, literally, it shows you that for some reason, anarchist politics work in South Africa. I mean, they grew so quick. Whether they'll see themselves being probably second after the ANC is an interesting point, because people were always saying that the EFF was formed to antagonize Jacob Zuma, and the question was, what will happen when Cyril steps in? Well, they still antagonize Cyril, and now be a Cyril party. But if it's a party which is going to be based on personalities, it might have problems. They've ran into problems, of course, with their policies on foreign nationals, opening of borders. We still don't know how that will affect them at the polls. And of course, it's the war of words between Nhlanhla Lux and Julius Malema. We don't know when that will end. And, I mean, Nhlanhla Lux is questioning with himself, with his meetings with all these billionaires. And, who is Nhlanhla Lux? I mean, people need to look into where this guy comes from. How is he associated with Kgalema Motlanthe? And how is he able to have such clout? I mean, he's doing nothing. He's just sitting there in Pimville. It's not even quite educated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now he's formed. He's moved away from that organization. Yeah.
You have to do it. Bamotibets, guys. We shouldn't mollycoddle this. Bamotibets.
They had enough of him.
Yeah, he was not sticking to the foundations of why that thing was found. And Nhlanhla thought now it's his own little circus with these people who gym with guns while all of us are afraid of guns. But, he's being seen as quite radical. I don't know, maybe as South African media. And look, I think we actually made Nhlanhla Lux. Who was Nhlanhla Lux 2 years ago? He was nobody,
You guys made him, yeah.
We made him. We reported on Nhlanhla Lux to a point that even a kid in primary school knew what Nhlanhla Lux is. And I asked him, where's this Lux thing coming from? He's like, I can always change my surname if I want. So he still needs to tell us why his real surname is Dlamini or the other surname that his mother uses.
Sorry, 1 second. Short time.
You don't sell this car.
Sorry, Timer?
You don't sell this car.
No, I can't sell it, Timer.
Okay.
No.
I have the same one like that.
Ngalumsiza uNkulunkulu ngalumsiza mina ngidinga umelusi ngalumsiza bangijikela ba ngazi ngenze njani bangijikela ba ngazi ngenze njani
eceleni kwami ikuyibona nje lensizwa singisuke angihlali angihlali awangishubani angisathembi ngishubani izitha zami phethe isikali anginaki khani imali
uNkulunkulu ngalumsiza uNkulunkulu ngalumsiza uNkulunkulu ngalumsiza mina ngidinga umelusi ngalumsiza bangijikela ba ngazi ngenze njani.
All right, man. Welcome to it. This is another episode of the Free Ride podcast. Today I'm excited, man. For the first time, Gibuale, a journalist, somebody who's published stories about other people. So I get to hear his perspective today. His name is Itumeleng. So I want to tell you a little bit about him, what his profile says on social media. He's a freelance journalist. He's a TV reporter, former religious brother, interested in politics, philosophy, and spirituality. That's on Twitter. I don't know if it's still the same, man. All right, so big ups and thanks to everybody who keeps liking the show. The show has grown. We've now reached 1,000 subscribers, 15,000 followers on TikTok. So that's a big milestone for the Free Ride podcast in just 5 months. So big ups and thanks to everybody who keeps liking, sharing, and of course engaging with me on this platform. So without further ado, man, let me welcome my brother. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me, Sipo. And just one correction, it's
Okay.
now the Star.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
the
now
Star.
report for the Star. So the profile was probably done before the Star.
Yeah.
So I'm no longer freelance, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, that was on Twitter. So
Yeah.
you've moved on from there.
I've moved on from there.
But you haven't tweeted in a while.
I haven't tweeted in a while because I've been hacked. You know, politics is a very dangerous space.
Oh yeah.
So I created a new Twitter account, which I'll give you.
Okay.
But I've been hacked a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, bro. All right, so I think before we talk about politics and the dangerous space of your business,
Yeah.
Arkaleka Hore Itumeleng ke mang, and where were you born and raised?
All right. I was born in Soweto. Probably spent most of my life there, well, childhood life.
Yeah.
Started career in the media in 2011 as an intern at the Sowetan.
Okay.
Then moved to the New Age NN7. After NN7, I decided to go into a spiritual phase. Went to study theology and philosophy with hopes of being a priest one day.
What?
Yeah, so
Oh, damn, okay.
that was disturbed, or I took a detour from that, then came back to the media,
Yeah.
and now I'm doing politics.
What a contrast, bro.
I know.
Yes,
I know.
yes.
So it's quite interesting because I found that at least the philosophy works a lot in my political reporting.
Oh, yeah.
Theology works a lot in my interpersonal skills with people, because I
Yeah.
can relate to people on a more spiritual level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skela, where did you go to school?
I went to school at Rosebank College and
No, primary.
primary. Oh, I did my primary school in Soweto.
Okay.
Primary school called Itumeleng, and I did my high school in a suburban school in the Eastern Sunwood Park High School.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, Rosebank College, and then later did my honors with Wits, and yeah, now I'm here.
In journalism.
Yes, in journalism.
How difficult was it to choose journalism?
It wasn't that difficult. I mean, look, I knew that I'd either become a priest, a teacher, or a journalist. I've
Yeah.
always known all my life. I've tried priesthood, it failed. Tried teaching, it wasn't good at it. And journalism seems to be what I'm good at.
Priest, dog. Like that.
Yeah.
That's some serious business, man.
It is super serious business,
It's
but
some discipline of note.
my psychologist says I have a Jesus complex. I always think
Oh,
I can
yeah?
save the world. So either I can save the world by teaching them, I can save the world by preaching to them, I can save the world by writing to them.
What?
Yeah,
Oh, that's very interesting, bro.
absolutely.
Okay, so so you started being a journalist after you studied, or like after Rosebank College?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I got my internship just as I was completing my last year of college, and
Yeah.
I can still probably remember my first article was about the Comrades Marathon or something. Can't remember, but yeah, something along those lines. And then I just grew from strength to strength, and
Yeah.
now I'm writing, about big boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, brother. Okay, so so you started off as a freelancer,
Yeah.
or did you go into a company before you got to?
To freelancing,
Yeah.
I started at the Sowetan as an intern, New Age as a junior reporter, in the 7 broadcaster.
Oh, yeah.
I then went to my spiritual phase and then came back again. Went into corresponding for like African channels, and then came to the Star. Well, that's before as well. Freelancing for Sunday Times because that was my freelance gig while I was looking for something permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So working for ANN7 in New Age, how was that, bro?
Interesting. I mean, look, I worked with like very top dogs in the industry, so
Yeah.
it's quite interesting. Of course, this is before the collapse, But when it actually shut down, I wasn't there.
Okay.
I was doing my studies, so I couldn't be there to see the whole thing go down. But unfortunate, but it was one of the, media companies which I grew. I mean, when I started broadcasting with them, I mean, it's just like duck to water. It was just very natural. So,
Yeah.
they took us on a few workshops, but I took to the thing like duck to water. So I learned a few things from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it anything about what was published in the media about it? Like, the negativity.
What
Pella,
made
remember?
me leave?
Yeah.
Uh,
You started uncovering all of this stuff before the ship starts sinking.
Look, what made me leave? I honestly and genuinely felt that I was reaching the ceiling. I mean, it's a company where I grew too fast. I mean, I did super investigations at a young age,
Yeah.
and they trusted me with a lot, and not many. I mean, by the time I left the place, I had met Barack Obama, Vladimir Putin. I had met a lot of leaders I thought
What?
I'd never meet. So I had done stuff I'd never thought I'd do at a young age.
Yeah.
So when a reporter gets to that level that, what more can I do now? You kind of want to, because journalism is about excitement. Every day you don't know what you're going to do. Every day you want to explore something different. Today you're in Joburg, the next day you could be in Cape Town, the next day you could be in Mozambique. You never know.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things. Yes, there were negative reports about the place. I guess from an insider's perspective, I never found anything wrong with
You're
either.
investigative journalist, bruh. You can't tell me you didn't know.
No, look. Did I know? What did I know? Look. Remember, guys, in a company there's hierarchy of things.
Okay.
You get chief editors, senior reporters, junior reporters, interns. So the guys at the bottom of the newsroom are not privy to really what happens at probably shareholder level and business dealings. And remember, accusations were that New Age is linked with Transnet and all sorts of things, and we were not privy to such information. I mean, my job was to write stories and go home.
But
simply that's what I did.
But wasn't it like surprising when you started seeing those business breakfasts go SABC, and you're like, how is the SABC and Transnet sponsoring all these big breakfasts? It didn't seem a bit odd.
Was it interesting? Look, no. At the time, anyway, I would imagine that that was company deals, one company to another.
Yeah.
So it didn't really concern me. The thing about reporters, we like artists, but at the same time, human rights activists. We're really more concerned about, the day-to-day stuff, like, oh, the price of bread is going up today. Oh, the ANC didn't pay workers this week. That's what we're really concerned about. But as far as business deal, then maybe if I was a business reporter, I would ask myself about, why is this business deal happening here and not there? But really, it wasn't my forte, or I wasn't quite interested, really. Yeah.
All right, so now you write about politics. You've written quite a few stories. I was actually checking them out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't mind if I talk to you about them, right?
Shoot.
Okay, so the first one I saw is the story about JPC launches an investigation into corruption allegations. We saw Mpho Phalatse has taken to court about the dealings that JPC had paid 26 million to an ANC-linked business.
Yeah.
So you've written this story.
I've written that
from
story.
a different perspective.
Of course, we all have perspectives. So yeah, I mean, Mpho is quite upset, of course. I mean, she was just ousted out as mayor.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be having nightmares after that too.
Yeah.
So she
Can be easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. She's more retaliating. There seems to be not enough sufficient evidence to even suggest that the money went into ANC coffers.
Yeah.
The CEO has been placed on temporal suspension.
Yeah.
Helen Bottas, while the matter is being investigated. But look, the DA obviously will try to hit back, especially after how they were all ousted out of council. It happened so fast. And it's expected, it's politics, it's a dirty game. So they will try to get stuff like this out there in the public to try and retaliate against the present municipal government. So, yeah.
You saw the whole thing happen. You've seen a lot of mayors come and go.
Yeah.
You've covered quite a lot of stories about Joburg politics.
Yeah.
Your view and outlook on Joburg, and and the seat, the other mayoral seat.
My view is that the DA failed the city of Johannesburg. I mean, they failed to keep a coalition. I mean, literally, Mpo was being controlled from Cape Town about decisions which were supposed to be made concerning, Joburg. And,
Yeah.
I think about the last motion on no confidence against her herself, where, the PA was saying to them, look, give us an IFP speaker and we'll vote with you. But, leaders in Cape Town, Helen Zille and them told Bompo that, okay, tell your coalition partners they can go to hell. They're not going to get that, So that's how the PA left that coalition. And, it's still bitter tensions between the PA and the DA till today,
Yeah.
What do I think is going to happen next? If likelihood is Mpo wins a court case to try and get back into the seat of power,
Today.
it's been postponed to tomorrow.
Oh, it's been postponed.
Yeah, apparently the DA is trying to get enough evidence to put up a strong case. So it's tomorrow. Whether the court will treat it as an urgent matter, we'll see. But I don't think it's that urgent. We are likely to see it either being put on postponement or maybe a ruling being made, on the same day. Yeah.
Your thoughts on some of the past mayors? I mean, you've seen a lot of mayors come and go.
All right. Well, the interesting thing about the mayors that have come and gone is obviously the death of ANC mayors. We still don't know if maybe it's, a spiritual hand. It's quite interesting to see at least 3 mayors just die like that, in a period of probably 2 years.
Yeah.
And Herman, who was a DA mayor, is another interesting character because he came in, formed this whole spy unit called Jiffies, was used to spy against a lot of ANC guys and other guys.
Yeah.
We don't know if Dada Morero, who's the current ANC mayor, is going to try and change the whole model of that thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, he left after a fallout with the DA. So that's another interesting mayor. And then that's Mpho Phalatse, who just left. Now, she's also interesting, caught up in a lot of controversy, with a grant scandal, where she is accused of giving money to a foundation associated to Herman Mashaba.
Yeah.
We still don't know where the case is, but I know there's a criminal charge against her for that.
Yeah.
So, we had a lot of interesting mayors. So the ANC ones die, then the DA ones just simply fail to deliver services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's so difficult about, just in your view, what's so difficult about that seat? They haven't been able to occupy it for very long.
What's so difficult? Are we talking about the ANC perspective?
No,
or are we talking
from
about
all seats, yeah.
Look,
And spiritually, because you say there might be a spiritual hand, or could there be a spiritual hand? Is it something you see, or it's just something?
well, look, spirituality is involved everywhere, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah.
Some people were even saying that it's a cursed seat because, look, when you're the mayor of Joburg, you control a 70 billion rand budget. It's all under your fingers. So, obviously, people would love to fight for such a seat. It comes with power, it comes with perks, comes with, maybe a recognition, the history of South Africa that, you're probably the 5th, 10th mayor of the city of Johannesburg, have quite a lot of influence on the development of the city and the economy of the city. And, Joburg is known throughout the world, probably after Cape Town. So, do I think that there's something wrong with this seat? Presently, I think there's something wrong with coalitions which are influencing that seat not to be stable. But in terms of the ANC, I think there's a problem in terms of fighting for power, and we see this not only in regional politics, but it goes into national politics, where leaders can't seem to get behind one leader and say, you represent the entire body, and therefore all the values and ideals that our party stands for and our support will go behind you.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's wrong with that seat.
Yeah. All right. So there's another story I saw that you wrote about. This one is Al Jama says even if DA wins in court, they will face a fresh motion of no confidence in the city of Joburg. So this you wrote about a day ago?
Yeah, I mean, Mpho doesn't have numbers. I mean, it's quite obvious. So
Yeah.
the DA has become famously known for court battles, and they've got super good white lawyers who are able to just win cases blindfolded. So even if she does win in court, because she claims that the programming meeting that was scheduled to put her motion did not form a quorum, and she also claims that the meeting itself that ousted her was illegal. So let's say the court say, Mpho, you're right. You're gonna give you back your position as mayor of the city. Go back, kick Dada out, go sit in that seat. In a few days, Al Jamar is saying another council meeting will be called. I mean, already the motion has been put into programming to get her out in case she wins in court. So
It's
the
already
opposition-
there.
It's already there. So the opposition's quite prepared in case
Yeah.
she comes back in and she, wants to become mayor again. So the interesting thing is whether the coalition she had before will stick. I mean, already now there's fights between herself, or rather the DA, and Action SA,
Yeah.
which said they are divorcing the coalition. IFP is still quite precarious. We don't know. They've been called spineless. I mean, they are quite spineless. I mean, rumors are that Mpho is using some document or some corruption document that she found on Mlungisi Mabaso to blackmail the IFP into this coalition. We know the IFP has a network of people that are protecting each other. Some of it goes along sexuality lines, but I'm not going to get into that. But
Yeah.
people are protecting each other and trying to make sure that the political careers are stable. And that's why sometimes these coalitions are forced into each other because of a lot of blackmailing and bribery which is going on.
Yo. All right. So, I mean, we've seen Mlungisi Mabaso very silent for a
Oh, he
very
should
long
be
time.
silent. I mean, Mlungisi can't say anything. What's he going to say? I mean, there's a lot of allegations that Mlungisi built an expensive house in Ulundi with, money from a contractor who was working in Joburg. And Mlungisi has a lot of allegations of corruption. We're still waiting for the report into the Lufereng RTP settlement. I mean, those houses were allocated to people even when the settlement was not even finished, So we need to know what happened there. All of these things happened under his MMC ship. He was MMC with the ANC coalition, and he was MMC with this current DA coalition. So he needs to tell us what happened. Lots of allegations about his appointments, appointing levers to key positions. So we need to know what Mlungisi did when he was mayor, when he was MMC. So I think, it calls for an investigation into his conduct.
So a report such as the financial year-end report, the Auditor General's report would not have such details.
Well, look, there is an investigation by council, and we're still waiting for that report. And with the current, government, we've been told that books are going to be looked into about what the previous government did. So I don't think it'll take time for us to know exactly what happened with the previous government. But if people think that the DA does not loot, that anything associated with whiteness is not corrupt, I mean, it's a joke. Because I can promise you that in a month, as soon as these guys are settled into their posts and their positions, we'll know exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
Although the DA itself said even when they came in, they also discovered things. I mean, we're dealing with politicians here. Is there such thing as an honest politician? Yeah.
All right. So there's another story that caught my eye that you wrote here, which I found interesting. Mpho Palatsi, I will never leave the DA, says Palatsi.
That's craziness. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, it's clear that the girl is abused inside the DA. Why does she not want to leave? She's very abused. I mean, it came out, Lindia Mazibuga said herself that she has it on good authority that Mpho is excluded from key meetings, about her own constituents in Joburg, about her own coalition in Joburg. Why does she not want to leave? I mean, she comes as a doctor. I mean, versus people like Ski and Hazen probably have just a matric. So all these white boys inside the DA, they go up very fast, but people like Mpho and others seem to be suppressed. And look, some people are saying Mpho was get up for failure in Joburg because all that they needed to do was give the IFP a speaker position and just share the three key powerful positions in the city amongst those coalition partners, so that everyone is happy and it doesn't look like a DA show in Joburg.
Yeah.
But they failed her, because if it was that Hill figure guy from Lewis figure guy from Cape Town, they would have saved Cape Town,
Yeah.
And we all know that the
Jordan
DA,
Roy- yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
Yes, Jordan Hilfiger Lewis. So we all know that the DA sees Cape Town, the Western Cape, as its own little island, and they will do anything to protect that. It's literally their crown jewel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're thinking Gore Mpo may not have learned from the likes of Musi, Lindiwe, Mashaba to see the trail in how prominent black leaders were dealt with. And so she's just in denial about it?
Oh, Mpo knows it. I mean, she hasn't practiced medicine for years. I don't even know if she still knows how to handle a stethoscope. So what she can rely on is probably politics as her, I don't know, bread and butter, something to help her eat.
Yeah.
But we know from good sources that she's got financial problems. I don't know how true that is, but that's what we're being told. So she needs to maintain a political life to ensure that she's well taken care of. And we all know politics can actually participate on both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
Why does she not leave? Matter of pride, matter of trying to sustain herself. And look, Action SA is falling apart anyway. Who wants to go there? Mashaba's fighting with, some of his leaders. Well, look, I wrote that article and he claimed that it's a lie. He's not fighting with some of his leaders. But look, this is what people on the ground are telling us, that he's fighting with his leadership who are saying, let's go work with the ANC. But he does not want to work with his ANC because he's got pride. I mean, he's running that thing like it's his mother's bakery.
Hair salon.
No, true. I mean, honestly, he thinks it's a hair salon.
So are you saying that he's running it as if it's his own little baby?
No, obviously, and people know that it's up to him and it's his way or no way. I asked him about funding, and look, I mean, he started that thing as his project with his money. So is he gonna misbehave? Is he gonna throw weight around? Probably yes. It's his money. He started that thing with his family money. Rumors are that his wife is tired of him funding that project with his money. He's been getting all these leaders from the DA and having sometimes to match their salaries with the salaries that they're getting in Parliament. And sources say it comes from his own pocket. But he told me specifically in his office at Freeman Towers in Sandton that he has donors now and that Action SA can sustain itself. We don't know, but he claims that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's not cheap to run a party.
It's not cheap to run a party. In fact, does Action SA even have offices? I mean, these are the questions we should be asking. What if the party is so financially stable? Where are the party's offices? I mean, I literally have spoken to people on the ground who have had to buy campaign gear themselves because the party was not supplying campaign gear. So if Action SA is so financially stable, why aren't they having offices? Or why aren't they having people who are dedicated to specific jobs who are getting salaries instead of riding on this volunteerism thing? Black people are hungry, black people are jobless, and you want them to volunteer.
Yeah. So he wants nothing to do with the ANC.
He wants nothing to do with the ANC, which is precarious. And he made a statement on 702 last week that should his supporters, his constituency say in a vote, in a poll, go work with the ANC, he would leave Action SA. And then he said he was exaggerating because he knows that his constituency won't ever say work with the ANC. But I mean, it shows how inexperienced in politics he is, because look, in politics there's no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. But I mean, he literally sees politics as a hairstyle guide. You can choose to do that hairstyle or you can't do that hairstyle, but it's not that way. Tomorrow you can do this hairstyle, the next you can do another one. It all depends on the flow of the winds of politics.
True.
Yeah,
very true. So having the likes of Bongani there, Baloyi, and John Moody, they are more open-minded to understanding the politics of being able to engage other parties, and he's afraid of them. Or
look, Moody. Look, I wouldn't really equate Moody with maybe honor or in a dignified way. I mean, he's got lots of accusations of being a sexual pervert inside the DA.
John
Moody. I'm talking about women have come to... I've got at least 2 women who told me about their situation with John inside the DA.
What?
In fact, we still need to ask the DA, what happened to John's sexual allegations, sexual violence allegations before he left the DA. We need to find that out, And I don't know. I'm told that his continuous behavior in Action SA, I don't know. But such is the nature of politics. These politicians take advantage of female people in the party who may seem like they want to go up.
Yeah.
They'd be taken to hotels. If you give what you want to give, then you could probably go up. If you don't, you won't go anywhere.
Yeah. I saw there's a story that broke out also over the weekend. One of the Action SA leaders,
Able down.
able down.
Yes. So look, there seems to be a sexual problem inside Action SA. Probably they're not the only ones, but what I can say is that at all times, females fall victim to these powerful men in politics who want to control power, control money, and control what happens in which position. So we saw that story. And, after that story, interestingly enough, we saw someone trying to throw mud on the ANC, saying, no, but the ANC has its own issues. So you could see the political inexperiencedness of some people in Action SA, because, look, you need to be able to apologize as a leader. If you've been wrong, you've been caught out, apologize and move on. Bill Clinton did it with Monica Lewinsky. You just need to forgive, be honest with the public, and we'll forgive you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We also saw a news party being formed, Musi Maimane, Bosa, about two weeks ago on a Saturday.
Yeah, Musi's on his own planet, guys. If that thing's going to work, I don't know. Do I think Musi has a better chance with him? And I think so. He's doing his own lollipop thing in a lady opening this party, which will probably fail. Well, I saw many people attended that thing, but I'm sure most of the people were looking for jobs from Musi,
Yeah.
So was it
free t-shirts or
free t-shirts or lunch or just, a picture with Musi? Will it work? I don't think so. South Africa has not gone to the point where Musi wants it to get, where we can elect a leader directly and place that leader as president and invest in that leader. We still have quite communal politics whereby we vote for organizations and organizations represent community interest or national interest. And I think it's something which is different about South Africa. We're quite communal, and even our politics will tell you. Look at how Ahang SA failed. They did the same thing, trying to form an American style of politics, and they failed dismally. In South Africa, if you don't toto, if you don't march, if you don't chant, and if you don't throw mud, you won't survive in South African politics. You always need to be a step ahead.
Like an EFF.
Look at how EFF grew so quick. Literally, it shows you that for some reason, anarchist politics work in South Africa. They grew so quick. Whether they'll see themselves being probably second after the ANC is an interesting point, because people were always saying that the EFF was formed to antagonize Jacob Zuma, and the question was what will happen when Cyril steps in. Well, they still antagonize Cyril and now be a Cyril party. But if it's a party which is going to be based on personalities, it might have problems. They've ran into problems, of course, with their policies on, foreign nationals, opening of borders. We still don't know how that will affect them at the polls. And of course, it's the war of words between Ntantla-Lax and Julius Malema. We don't know when that will end. And, Ntantla-Lax is questioning with himself, with his meetings with all these billionaires and who is Ntantla-Lax? People need to look into where this guy comes from. How is he associated with Kgalema Motlanthe? And how is he able to have such clout? He's doing nothing. He's just sitting there in Pimville. It's not even quite educated.
Yeah. So now he's formed, he's moved away from that organization,
You have to do it. Motivates, guys. We shouldn't mollycoddle this. Motivates.
They had enough of him.
Yeah, he was not sticking to the foundations of why that thing was found. And Ntantla thought now it's his own little circus with these people who gym with guns while all of us are afraid of guns. But, he's being seen as quite radical. I don't know, maybe as South African media. And look, I think we actually made Ntantla-Lax. Who was Ntantla-Lax 2 years ago? He was nobody,
You guys made him, yeah.
We made him. We reported on Ntantla-Lax to a point that even a kid in primary school knew what Nhlanhla Lux is. And I asked him, where's this Lux thing coming from? He's
Yeah.
like, I can always change my surname if I want. So he still needs to tell us what his real surname is, Dlamini or the other surname that his mother uses.
Sorry, 1 second. Sure,
You
time.
don't sell this car.
Sorry, timer.
You don't sell this car.
No, I can't sell it, timer.
Okay. I
No.
hear the same one like this. Hey, this car is right.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you,
hey,
sir. You like it?
You look nice after it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Much love, sir. Thank you.
That's a nice.
That's what happens when I'm shooting, bro. It's always an old uncle
Looking for the car.
who's like, I know what's going on here.
Mohoputs are back in his days.
Yeah, alright. So, bro, back to our conversation. Do you think, identity politics, such as, especially around a leader, like the DA tried it to make it about Musi, EFF is making it about Julia, say, do you now Mashaba made it about him? People, it's like you have a brand of a person and then you have a brand of the party. Is there a confusion at some point where a human brand is bigger than that of the party?
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. I think we are at a time in South African politics where people are actually tired of politics. We're so tired of politics that we actually want something more. And what is that more? It's an individual who's going to save us. And I think we have gone into the phase of messianic politics where we're looking for a messiah. And guys, I'm telling you, we're not going to find that messiah in politics.
Yeah.
So what should happen is South African public needs to be able to just hold their leaders account. I'm talking from your local councillor upwards. Be able to hold people to account and stop looking for a messiah, because there is no Jesus who's going to come down and help you get a job and help you get an RDP and help you get education. We need to start getting into active citizenry, whereby citizens take advantage and take the power back into their own hands. Because look, we can't walk around as victims all our lives. You are becoming a victim under apartheid and you want to become a victim in post-94 South Africa. You can't live your life like that. So an active citizenry will save us from messianic politics, whereby we look for a messiah to save us. When this president fails, you think, oh, the next one will help me. When that fails, oh, this one will help me. No messiah is going to come.
Because that's exactly, people think that the media also created a messiah out of Cyril Ramaphosa as well.
Of course.
And not many things, negative stuff.
Of course.
And he made as much mistakes as Jacob Zuma, but the media is just very biased towards it.
Let's not beat about the bush. He came from business. Capital controls the media. The media is a business. So, people have vested interest in seeing Cyril become president, whether it's media owners or what. But we cannot stay away from the fact that Cyril literally created a new DA in the ANC. We don't need a DA anymore. I mean, Cyril is the president of the DA, literally.
What?
Because of everything that he stands for. I mean, he's about to go to England to go meet that tall king. They probably became rich from African money.
Yeah,
and Charles and the other woman who cheated on the king with him. So Cyril was about to go there, leaving the country in freaking a mess. Look at it now, stage 4 and all these things which are happening. Got Zama's raping people everywhere. So literally the country is in a mess, and these ANC guys are just eating at each other. And Cyril was busy focusing on coming back as president instead of just trying to reach down and be there for his country.
Yeah.
And look, white media made him. I'm not even going to say black media, because South African media is right now divided according to racial lines and ideology and where the political scales are tipping. And since capital is tipping on Cyril's side, obviously the political favor in terms of media will go towards Cyril. Yeah.
So does capital believe that he can save the soul of South Africa, or do they just think that he can change the politics to ANC, or like what do they believe?
I think Capital believes Cyril can protect white interests. I think Capital believes Cyril can protect Western interests. And I think, Capital believes better Cyril than someone who's gonna come with communistic views and probably think about the masses of black people who are suffering because of the injustices of the past. I mean,
Like a Jacob Zuma.
You hardly hear Cyril speaking about, land reform. I mean, Cyril's all fancy talk and business and investment, but you hardly ever see that guy reaching out on serious issues which impact all of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true. We haven't heard him speak anything about radical economic transformation.
Oh, no, he wouldn't touch that. Cyril
Which-
wouldn't touch. The minute he touches that, all this Jewish money he's getting, all that, that funding he got, I mean, he must still tell us who funded him for Cyril 17. If he's so honest, why is he keeping that thing secret? So
Yeah.
he must just tell us who's funding him. We don't even know if he'll have the same funders with this year's Congress. But knowing that amount of white capital behind him, Cyril will probably get enough money to buy Congress. I mean, there's allegations that he bought the last Congress. There's allegations that the ANC is using state security funds for these things,
Yeah.
And there's that tape that Mervyn Deck, complained about where, Cyril seems to be protecting some people over some knowledge of state money being used for ANC purposes. We have a lot of unanswered things from Cyril, including the Palapala issue. Why is the president not telling us what's the issue with that money? If he can just say this, everyone will forget it. But he seems to be stuck in not telling us what happened. And then you get the new public protector, Kolega Galega, who seems to be protecting Cyril, saying, it's going to take time to actually investigate this thing. So a lot of things are happening around Cyril, but every time Cyril is pointed with something, he seems to escape.
So do you think she's just trying to buy time for the conference?
No,
to pass?
she's buying time. I think she's buying time.
Yeah.
The thing is, we may all think that people in government, people in these institutions are not politically motivated or don't have their own political views. But it's true, guys. I mean, we shouldn't look at these people like they're from heaven. They're not from heaven. They're like you and me. They've got their own biases and they've got their own stances on things, and they can be bought too. I mean, everyone loves money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. There's a story you just spoke about Pala Pala now. You said Jorge, and also I want to ask you, how do you come up with as journalists the headlines? Because you've got this one says ATM demands answers regarding Ramaphosa and Pala Pala robbery fiasco. So do you first write and then from your context you then decide what's going to be the headline?
Yeah, I think that's important. Lay your thoughts down, look at the story, and then come with the headline, because your introduction most of the time will tell you if what the headline is going to be.
Okay.
But obviously it has to be catchy and it has to be able to throw the reader into wanting to know what is happening in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the mere mention of Pala Pala just gets people to read. You don't even need to do much with the Pala Pala story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you saying here about ATM? So they are saying, just to read it again, they demand answers regarding. So do you think there's truth to him hiding money there?
Of
Or
course.
do you think there's laundering of money that's
Cyril hid money there. Cyril probably laundered money. Julius knows it, and he's even said that there's more. And when Julius speaks, guys, we all know Julius speaks based on something he knows. I mean, these guys, while they may seem to be fighting with each other, they probably play golf with each other in private on some estate where we're all not looking. So
Yeah.
they know stuff about each other, and sometimes it's just an issue of getting the evidence. So they know stuff about each other. So there is money, and probably there is more money. I mean, the guy has a lot of estates. The guy
Yeah.
owns a lot of property. That money, was it destined for the Congress? Probably. Is there more money where that came from? Probably. I mean, he probably said that the money's from the sale of game, but we don't buy that. I mean, that was a lot of foreign currency on his farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are we even allowed to have that much money,
No.
dollars especially?
No. And look, the question you should be asking is, why are all these agencies taking time to investigate? From SARS, Reserve Bank, everyone's taking their time. But look, I mean, he's got state resources in his capacity, um, and while he's president, I think he's probably going to use it to his advantage,
To do what exactly?
to get away with murder. I mean, if we think Cyril is not corrupt, we're joking. If we think Cyril is clean, we're joking. We always need to look at whether it's which president. We always need to look at things with a critical eye. I mean,
Yeah.
Mashaba himself said before he ever works with the ANC, Cyril must tell us where the Pala Pala money is coming from. Cyril needs to tell us what is going on with the money being there, and needs to tell us if he's corrupt or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you, as a journalist, especially when you're so bold to speak about such things, like how do you make sure you don't get threatened for what you write about, you don't get dealt with, be it you get fired for exposing things you expose, or they do maybe koloi, like those kind of things.
Look, I live in a very safe complex, quite
Okay.
safe. So, I will spot you when you come in, and
Yeah.
it's mainly for such things, because I get away with saying a lot of things,
Yeah.
and it's important to have a voice such as mine. I think because I'll speak for myself. I have found that my kind of journalism, straight to the point. Yes, sometimes people do take me to account for what I wrote or my opinions,
Yeah.
but I'm happy because I start public engagements. I start public dialogue. I spark fires about issues which were burning in people's minds and hearts, but no one had the guts to say them. So it's an ideological profession. It doesn't rest on producing physically, but it's a business of ideas.
Oh.
Yeah.
So do you, as sometimes journalists, because I remember once, 2017, for the conference at ANC, we'd be in the same media center with the journalists.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, they have written things about things that have happened inside, and they have either moles inside or people that have given them information, and they were hardly inside. Do you think sometimes journalists will say, I've got a source and I'll protect my source, but that source is not real, it's just an idea on a journalist's mind? Are there lies that sometimes journalists write, is what I'm trying to get to?
Are the lies that journalists write? Look, I'm not going to say there aren't,
Okay.
but I'm going to tell you that you can hold the journalist to account, whether you go to the press council, you go to SANEF, you go to the ombudsman, but there's always these bodies that force the journalist to account. And look, you've got the law on your side. You can sue if someone wrote something
Yeah.
which is a lie or fabrication, So it's all about you, again, what I spoke about, being an active citizen. A journalist is not there to target anyone, but we're there to have public engagements. If I, as a journalist, wrote something about you didn't like, you call me, say, let's engage. I can show you a different side to what you wrote. Then we start these ideas, and this is what leads to development. This is what leads to accountability. This is what leads to progression, because you're not stuck on one idea, but you're looking at things from different dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The issue of Stratcom, there were a lot of journalists who were paid to write certain things about certain individuals. Is it true?
Of course. In
Okay.
fact, I know one.
Okay.
That's true. Who used to, work for a certain media house, quite popular media house, and was a white guy, and put there by the National Party. In fact, I don't mind pointing out the Citizen.
Okay.
The Citizen was involved in Stratcom.
Yeah.
It was National Party funded. I don't know what views they represent now, but they're quite DA in their manner of reporting.
Yeah.
So Stratcom is true. People who suffered because of Stratcom are people like Winnie Mandela. There was a whole media onslaught against her, which started back then, and probably progressed to post '94 South Africa. And I'm told by her peer that she would collect all these newspapers and just look at them, and she would say, tomorrow it won't be me, tomorrow it will be someone else. Because that's how much she had gotten used to being painted with a black paint by the media.
Yeah.
And this raises a question, are we there to destroy, or are we there to build? But again, each media house exists for a certain purpose, but the point is to always keep the debate going on, always keep the voices being heard, even different voices.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is there media freedom in South Africa?
Is the media freedom in South Africa? Is the media freedom in South Africa? Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. I mean, there seems to be a narrative in the media that you need to go with the flock, and if you don't go to the flock, you need to be closed down.
Okay.
And I don't want to point to specific, examples, but there seems to be a narrative in the media that if you don't support this particular political candidate, you need to be closed down. If you don't see good in something that the other media sees good in, you need to be shut down, which is a problem. I mean, so American media has probably a wide range of TV stations, even more than us, a wide range of newspapers, even more than us, and it creates maybe bubbles of different ideas,
Yeah.
And I think for me, the importance of that is that you're able to see the world holistically instead of just going with the flock, because you see, if we're going to go with the flock, it's a danger to democracy because other voices are not heard, other dynamics are not explored, and if we're always saying one thing in the same way, it becomes religion, and if it becomes religion, it can become dictatorial, and it can lead to brainwashing of people.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it can happen, or has it happened in some instances where I'm trying to think of the word if I use where the media is just biased propaganda.
It happens. It happens. It happens a lot. A lot is going on in South African media, and I think it's probably a result of what is happening in South African politics.
Okay.
What is happening in South African politics affects companies, which are state-run. It affects media houses, which control the voices of the public and the voices of those in charge. So everything that you see happening in the ANC is actually filtering down to the public.
Mm.
And it's affecting the media, it's affecting business, it's affecting the health system. There's nothing that ANC politics is not affecting.
Mm.
So if I'm going to exclude the media from that, I would be lying.
Yeah. So how would you, if you were a doctor and South Africa, where would you say South Africa is, or what's going on? If you have to paint a picture to somebody who doesn't know anything about South Africa,
I think it's a country with an identity crisis. It's a country with an identity crisis. Winnie Mandela said the country was too quick in raising a rainbow nation flag without actually correcting certain things. Before you can, I'm going to put it in the church way. Before you can be born anew, you need to fix the things that made you who you were in the past.
Mm.
Now, if we simply wear new clothes without washing the dirt of our bodies, it even makes us more confused because you're wearing clean clothes but your body's dirty. So what I'm trying to say is that South Africa rushed into this new democracy without correcting a lot of things, and now we're feeling the impact. We're feeling the impact with economic transformation being on the slow, with land redistribution being almost non-existent, with the concentration of the elite and white being in control of the economy, and concentration of the mass of blacks being in the townships and not receiving the kind of opportunities they needed to. Well, BE was a good idea, but we saw comrades taking advantage of it, and it left out a lot of people who were on the ground who could have taken advantage of that. So we're a country in crisis, a country which needs identity, and probably if we stop this messianic politics, thinking that someone's going to come and save the country, probably could help. But until the ANC heals its own problems, because right now I don't see anyone else who can be in charge. someone who has vision, someone who has pure interest in heart, except the ANC, you know. So until such a time comes when there is a good contender, we have to rely on them. And if they don't sort their mess out, although their numbers are declining, which is leading into the coalitions that we're seeing, but if they don't sort their mess out, the country is going to go into an absolute crisis.
So, your take on smaller parties in these coalitions? Are they playing? I mean, you saw the fall of the DA coalition as a result of parties like Al Jamaa,
Yeah.
AIC, one-seat parties
Yes.
have taken down big parties. Do you think they play an important role?
Of course,
Okay.
of course. And you see, the DA made a mistake because they would label these guys who are in coalition with them as 0.003% parties. you
Yeah.
know. But that 0.003% was able to unseat all of them. You know.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show in politics, you don't even undermine one vote. And, even that one vote which is there is, needs a difference. It wants to see Joburg transforming. So these parties made a difference. I mean, we're seeing Colleen Makubele as a speaker. She comes from a minority party
With one seat.
with one seat. Speculations are the Good Party, which also doesn't have a lot of seats.
It's got one seat also.
One seat. We'd like to see the guy being chair of chairs.
Oh, he's going to be chair of chairs.
Well, that's according to sources, of course.
Oh, okay.
We're going to see a lot of Margaret, who's from a minority party, Margaret Arnold's,
MMC of Finance.
MMC of Finance.
Yeah.
So it tells you about the power of the minorities that, in politics, do not undermine even the smallest of parties, because they, especially now that we're going to coalition politics, and I'm sure it's going to be that way even in national politics in terms of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just on Itumeleng and Tshwane, there's already a motion of no confidence against the mayor and speaker of Tshwane. Your thoughts? So they're not going to stay long there?
No, that's going. And, I think everyone has made peace with the fact that Tshwane, and look, Tiki Ngiza outlined it, Banyaza Sufi outlined it. The ANC is going to make a mass sweeping of all these metros. They're going to take the metros back. This obviously a result of the EFF working with the ANC. Ekurhuleni is next. I think probably end of the month we'll have a new mayor in Ekurhuleni. The DA acknowledged that they've given up on Ekurhuleni. So I said in public that there's nothing they can do there. They're a minority government,
Yeah.
So that's done. It's a done deal in the back. Tshwane is also next. The question is, how will these guys now keep the coalition stable? Will we see stable coalitions for the next 5 years from these guys who just stepped in?
Yeah.
And this obviously means no undermining each other, no backstabbing each other, and obviously always keeping each other to account and looking at the interests of Joburg. Obviously, people have questions about the PA. Can we trust the PA in these coalitions? So that's another question that people are actually talking about. And, whether the EFF can actually sustain working relations with the ANC. But in Ekurhuleni, I'm told that the EFF has been promised a mayor position there. So that remains to be seen how the EFF will run Ekurhuleni.
Just your thoughts on, Julius will come out and say all sorts of negative stuff about the ANC this, the ANC this, Paul Mashatile this. I mean, we remember November, he said, or Mashatile, he would not even want to speak to Paul Mashatile. And then months down the line, the coalition talks between the EFF and the ANC. Is it because the provincial leadership is new and they know each other?
Yeah, look, the thing about, South African politics, most of these guys at some point worked with each other somewhere,
Yeah.
It's all interlinked, and hence, I keep saying South African politics are quite personality centered. And, one leader could say, I don't want the ANC because of the leader in the ANC, but because of maybe an SG that they know in the ANC could say, I changed my mind. So it's all about these relationships which are interconnected, which, somehow come to form, a bridge in terms of leaders who don't get each other or coalition partners who don't want to work together.
Yeah.
Mm.
So there's no permanent friends and permanent
No
enemies.
permanent friends, no permanent enemies. It's politics. I mean, it's like a marriage. In a marriage, today you fight, tomorrow you're on honeymoon phase. It's always like that. But the cautious thing one should always be doing or looking at when it comes to politics, divorce should always be your last option. You must always exhaust everything, and then divorce is your last option. And that's the only thing that will keep these coalitions intact.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And then 2024 is around the corner, so you don't think there'll be any conflict 2023 as everybody goes on a campaigns trail whilst they have coalitions going Kodi Metro and other municipalities. Mare, the year since June, from June going on to 2024, it's going to be political bashing because everybody's running as an individual. Mare, they've got coalitions. You don't see any conflict in that year of 2023?
Not conflict per se. South African politics have become quite matured. They're not like politics during the black on black violence in the early 90s. What I'm probably seeing is everyone's going to be putting their best foot forward. I mean, black leaders have been working out of the DA, so they need to convince black people that, look, we are for you guys. And look, they would not probably get the amount of support they're getting even without the black votes, because, I mean, white people are minority in South Africa. That we can't ignore. So they still need the black vote. But, the question is, have they given up on the black vote? Is that why they appointed Johnston and took Musi out in them and didn't decide to go for a black leader?
Yeah.
Is that why they keeping that John Hilfiger Lewis guy in Cape Town? Why aren't they putting a black guy there? Do they now subscribe to the politics of white leads better? So that's the question that we need to know. And are they now saying to the FF Plus, we can represent white interests better than you? So are we going back to the politics of Tony Leon? That's what we need to ask. In terms of the ANC, of course, what's going to happen right now in December at Nasrec will determine how the ANC campaigns. Are we going to get the same president who's giving us rampant load sheddings unending? Are we going to get the same president who's not telling us what happened to Palapala? Are we going to get the same president who seems to be out of touch with the community, who has a British accent from nowhere? So, and in terms of the EFF, will their foreign policy affect how voters look at them? So I would focus on those three parties. I don't know, Herman thinks that he's going to be second biggest party in the country, 2024. I don't know. I mean, if he continues running his party like a shack in the township where they do hair for 10 rand, I don't know if he's really going to succeed at that. So I would focus on those as key major players. The PA also probably is making inroads as a party mainly representing colored interests, although they're saying they're not mainly focusing on colors. But I think it's becoming publicly clear that they represent a lot of colored interests. So I would focus on those parties and see, but we know the ANC is probably gonna take a dip because of all these issues they've got within, and all of this unity project which is not really working.
What's a dip? Less than 50%?
I would imagine less than 50%, and probably the other parties will share the rest of the 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think Zweli Mkhize is going to emerge?
Do I think Zweli will emerge? That's a very big question. Right now, here's the thing about congresses. I've come to figure that congresses, you can never tell what's going to happen.
Yeah. Unpredictable.
Congress is unpredictable, and if you think money is not being exchanged in Congress, you're joking. There is money being exchanged. Votes can be bought in Congress. So, South African politics are not like super ethical politics where, it's based on super ideology, super debate, super convincing, but there is underhand stuff that happens. Zweli, will he escape digital vibes? I don't know. Probably he will, probably he won't. But here's the thing. There's a lot of female voters at that thing. Can NDZ emerge? We don't know. It's probably. So I would say Congress is always 50-50. And leading to Congress we will see a lot of battles. Probably they'll play out in the media. There'll be a lot of mudslinging, a lot of exposing, a lot of backstabbing. Let's just hope there's no deaths.
Okay, so we've got about 2 months or so to go before the conference. How will you protect yourself from being used by politicians?
Myself,
Yeah,
as a
like,
reporter.
yeah, but hey, mfowethu, here na le story for wena. Zwakala, here's 30,000, 100,000,
You know,
because that's gonna go down. dog.
fortunately, I focus on the metro. I'm a metro politics reporter. You
Yeah.
know, so the city of Joburg politics are mainly my forte. Look, journalists know better, and probably I know better not to take bribes. You know, you can't really sacrifice your whole career because look, imagine I've written articles for the last 10 years. I take a bribe, one bribe for 30,000, one day, probably transaction lasts 10 minutes. So all the work I've done for 10 years will be erased by the transaction that took 10 minutes. So I think every journalist is always careful of taking bribes because of the fear of losing your career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't believe you though.
Look,
Because I know, dog, journalists, kibatu, they've got issues like us, and
they've got issues like us, sure, but you also need to be clever.
yeah,
I mean, can someone really sacrifice a lifetime career for 30,000 rand? So, for me or for anyone really to sacrifice a career, you really need to be offering them the world, eh?
yeah.
Because I don't think it's worth. Because remember, as journalists, as well, we have families. We've got people depending on us. You know, I don't like calling it black tax, but you are taking care of extended families. So, would you kill your career for 30,000 rand? I think it doesn't make sense. I mean,
Okay,
it
maybe
happened.
30 is a little bit too small. 500,000.
No, I mean, it just reminds me of the city of Joburg. That guy, that Obrumuchela guy who was involved in a bribery scam, the whiskey mbundu.
Oh yeah.
Man,
Oh yes, about the whiskey guy.
Yeah, you know. So I mean, that story is very fishy, and the report came that that MMC actually said Mbundu actually took the money home, and the wife said no, take it back. I still don't know what happened to that case, but look, you cannot bribe someone with 3,000 rand for a million rand tender. So there's something fishy there, and Masha was defending his counsel that, oh, my counsel will never be involved in bribery. But anyway, the point I was making is that you need to be able to compare what you're sacrificing, your career and
Yeah,
yourself for.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Would you advise for anyone who has an interest in journalism to get into journalism? Young people.
I would say get into journalism for the public, get into journalism to save people from the current status quo, get into journalism to represent the 100-year-old lady from Maryland who's losing her house because she's being evicted by a grandchild. So get into journalism to become the voice of those who cannot speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get into journalism for fame or to become an influencer. Just get in there to become a public servant,
An active citizen.
an active citizen. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Just last point. The growth of social media in the last 5 years, 10 years, has seen social media take a lot of business away from newspapers, TV, radio, in terms of adverts and so on. And it's created a different narrative. Do you think social media has a big part to play in people being active or using it to raise their voice?
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Look, I think at least it has played a role in, the public having a bridge, if we're not there as reporters, having a bridge to those in authority. I know sometimes people complain to ESCOM, and ESCOM can respond on Twitter, So it has an important role to play, but again, I wouldn't replace necessarily journalists or journalism because at least we are able to go out there, get the facts, do the investigations, and show that justice and ensure that justice is being done. The least you could do on social media is express your thoughts. But again, social media is being abused as well in certain ways for either political mudslinging or, people can also, I don't know, how can I put it, like mess with each other on social media. So they won't replace us as journalists. So people may talk about the digital era and all those things, but social media will remain exactly social media. It will not remain the vanguard of the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Sure. So what's up next this week? What are you looking at, the stories?
Stories, we're hoping to see how the court case between the DA and the new Joburg government, how it goes. Jacob Zuma is apparently addressing the nation tomorrow. We don't know what that is about.
Oh, yeah.
And ESCOM is in tatters. We're still yet to see if we're going to move from stage 4 to higher stages of load shedding. And all of this is happening towards the end of the year. And obviously it's Congress battles between the ANC leaders who are going to Congress in less than 2 months. So it's going to be a busy political week, especially until the end of the year. Yeah.
Sure. Just any message to youngsters who maybe wanna get into journalism, wanna grow up, but
Well, look, guys, focus, study hard, have your heart in the right place, and always think about the little guy. The important thing about being a journalist is always think about the little guy and keep in school. Make sure your English is good so you can write. But look, we're seeing journalism going the African route too. We're having papers now reporting in African languages. So just become a strong speaker, be a strong communicator, and perhaps, you could end up doing more than what I did. You could even win awards, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Where to in the future for you? Like, where do you see yourself?
Where do I see myself in the future? I've always had a vision of retiring, being a lecturer somewhere, maybe a political science lecturer or anthropology lecturer somewhere. But yeah, I see myself doing greater work because I see myself always being an agent of change, changing society, changing minds, gearing up society for the right way. I'm not one of those that say South Africa is messed up, I'm leaving, I'm going to go elsewhere and settle there. No, I think we have at least the responsibility of fixing home before we can ever go settle elsewhere else. Yeah.
Sure. Oh, man, you've given me such a mouthful, man. Thank you very much for joining us, man.
It's a pleasure. Absolute
Kilabukhala, just your honesty, and I think, people don't know much about journalists, and journalists don't also do a lot of interviews like you do.
Yeah.
So it was just a breath of fresh air for me to hear your side of the story and just what interests you to write about, and what really takes for you to be a journalist, because it just tells me now, Jorge, you're actually doing this because you want to serve, and you're doing it because you want to be an active citizen.
Yeah.
It's not about the money, it's not about being famous and all the other wrong reasons. So I appreciate you for coming out to the show and just sharing with us.
No, it's a pleasure. And, it's a pleasure that I'm happy that you, decided to not go for the guys who've been in the industry for like 20, 30 years, to have them on. Because, there's still this whole disparity in journalism whereby in the apartheid days, for a black guy to sit and say I'm a senior reporter like myself, it would take probably 20, 30 years, right?
Justice.
But now, that's happening with democracy because, now we're being recognized as young black guys that actually we are intelligent and actually we've got a voice to say and actually we have an opinion to express in society and we've got views on how society should be shaped.
Yeah. Sure, I like that, man. I think I want to touch base with you again.
Sure.
And
Sure.
just so that you keep us abreast with the developments.
Sure.
As a lot is happening around Joburg and obviously other metros as we lead up towards the conference, because I think you've given me a different perspective to look at things,
Of course. Always look at things sideways.
Sideways. Not differently, sideways.
Don't look straight, but look sideways.
Yeah.
Because if you look straight, you'll always miss what's going on at the sides.
Jesus. And things are not what they seem.
Things are never what they seem.
Yo. All right, peeps, you heard it for yourself, my boy. Itu, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. He shared so much with us. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please continue to like, to share. And of course, you can listen to our audio podcast on all our different platforms, on Spreaker, on Google Podcast, on Deezer, as well as Spotify. So check out all our platforms. We appreciate you. We're out, man. Boom.